back to City and State TV. I'm Morgan Pehme here at the City and State Hub in beautiful San Juan, Puerto Rico for the SOMOS 2014 conference. I'm joined now by Assemblyman-elect Michael Blake. Assemblyman-elect, thank you so much for joining us.
Great to be with you.
I'm going to say Assemblyman just for the ease of saying it.
Absolutely.
This must be a pretty heady experience, running for office the first time, getting elected. How are you feeling right now?
It's pretty phenomenal. You go through the rigors of a campaign and communicating to voters on why they should give you a chance and to win a contested primary and to now be down here and communicating with our future colleagues about the vision that we have for the South Bronx. It's very exciting and definitely fulfilling, but it shows us after Tuesday there's a lot of work to be done.
And you are a big supporter of the president, you were in the Obama administration, and so during this time when you had a great personal triumph, there was also great frustration on the national level. Do you think that the outcome of the election was a referendum on the president?
Not at all, because when you see that turnout was down, it actually shows to me that our base didn't come out in the numbers they could have. When you see collectively across states that governors were being re-elected by smaller margins in multiple states, but at the same time minimum wage referendums were being passed, that shows you that people were consciously making decisions. I'm not necessarily motivated by everything that I'm seeing. What we have to do as Democrats is tell our story much better, convey the contrast much better, and then we'll be able to demonstrate further victories. And so I don't think Tuesday was a referendum on President Obama at all. I think Tuesday is an indication that we as Democrats have to tell our story in a more progressive manner for people to understand the benefits of having us in office, and we understood clearly the consequences of inaction.
If I'm correct, your borough of the Bronx delivered the most votes for the president in both of his elections.
That's right.
And yet, in New York State, from the last midterm elections, we had a drop-off of 1 million voters, to 1930s levels we're back at. How do you explain that lack of engagement, and what can we do to address it?
Well, we have to always keep in mind that the Bronx is probably the most diverse community in the country, according to the U.S. Census. So when you have the first African-American president, obviously there's going to be a lot of motivation that happens there from the Black, Latino, African communities itself. And there's always going to be drop-off when non-presidential years, as we expect. But we have to keep in mind what's happening right now. At the end of the day, people are deciding on the candidates that get them excited and what's the message to motivate them there. And when you have someone as inspiring as the president who can have a very clear contrast on at that point, former Governor Romney and Senator McCain, it's very clear. We have to demonstrate that as well on the local level. And I think what we've been able to now show is there are clear victories that are happening within the Bronx. We have to continue to tell that story and tell that up and down the ticket, and for people to understand the consequences of not getting involved and not being engaged. I think it will be much more clear now as we move forward, as we saw in 2010. When people didn't vote, what became more difficult? We saw a Tea Party caucus that made it more difficult on our country. Hopefully people will understand when you don't vote, there's still actions that happen against you in a negative manner.
Now, what brought you down to this year's SOMOS conference? I mean, ostensibly the objective of the SOMOS conference is to fashion an agenda that is going to help Latino Americans in New York. But when you came down here, what were you looking to accomplish? What were you looking to get out of it?
Well, my background is focused on creating business, and creating opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses. So we have to be focused on what are we trying to do. So I am here to say to the Latino community across the board, this is what we can do within the 79th district. How do we create more opportunities for minority and women-owned businesses to get access to capital, contracting, access to the opportunities, and demonstrate that the public sector can help in creating those opportunities. As we've seen from Comptroller DiNapoli, Comptroller Stringer, and others, you can create that space economically for us. Governor Cuomo's obviously demonstrated increasing the goal to 30% for MWBEs, and so that's my responsibility now, communicating to the community that's down here, as well as obviously those that are going to be back in the States. What are we going to do to increase opportunities in our communities? When there are more minority and women-owned businesses being successful, our education settings are better, our communities are stronger, public health is improved. There are so many different variables that then happen for the better in our communities. And so this is also my opportunity to say thank you to the Latino community that was so supportive of my race and supportive of the vision that we're trying to bring to the 79th District, which has not had representation in a long time, to demonstrate this is the coalition that we can build. You hear often about the Obama coalition. Well, I have that mini coalition in our district of all of our different communities, and the Latino community is a very strong and necessary part of that.
Now, your two immediate predecessors are both criminals.
Two of the last three.
Two of the last three.
We don't want Michael Benjamin to be upset right there.
Well, okay. Michael wasn't he three back?
Yeah, well, it was Eric, Michael, and Gloria. So we had that break in between.
Right, exactly. So that's three of the last four, right?
Well, I'm not. No. Two of the last three.
Two of the last three. I'm
yeah,
sorry. Michael Benjamin knows I love him, so I'm not worried about offending him. But when you have that type of representation in your district, how do you rebuild trust that you've had these people who have violated the public confidence, and you also have Michael Benjamin. How is it that you can assert the goodness of what you're trying to achieve in office?
I have to be very clear in demonstrating immediate, tangible results. The community doesn't have time for words. They don't have time to wait. They have been hearing words that fell on deaf ears and disappointed them for almost a decade, if not longer. And so there has to be tangible action that happens. I can demonstrate my personal story of being born and raised in the Bronx, going to work for the president, serving our country, and having the opportunity and came back home. So I'm already demonstrating this is my commitment, this is my service. But the next level has to be what's going to change in a very real manner. Are we going to get more job opportunities? What's going to happen for our schools? What are we going to do to reduce the gun violence that's been happening within our district and the South Bronx itself? How are we going to make sure that people feel invested? How do we make sure that all of our coalition communities are a part of one united coalition? And so they have to see actions from us, and we have to move quickly on that. And with any time you have disappointment and that happens, what then has to occur when we have consistent positive action that moves us forward, people start to build trust again. And we understand that. And we were very clear when we ran this race that people were going to be looking for something different. And we asked for everyone to give us a chance in the 79th District to say, look, this is home for me. Give me a chance to be a part of that coalition to bring that change. And I think people are ready for that, and they demonstrated that by the support that they gave us, and I'm very grateful and I'm thankful for that opportunity.
At City and State's recent On Diversity conference, Comptroller Stringer was talking about the scathing report that he issued about the city failing to meet its MWBE goals. Certainly the state has done much better in hitting the thresholds it set, now setting the bar higher. But on the state level, what else do you want to see concretely happen in order to help MWBEs?
Well, when you look at the opportunity for MWBEs, we have to be conscious of a few different things. Where's the access to capital? Where's the access to contracting? Where's the access to the opportunity? Do we have a job training pipeline to get those employees ready? Are we making sure that there are collaborations between larger entities and small entities? There are a lot of components that have to come to that. So first, establishing the goal is obviously a great first step, and it's necessary. We've seen it's been exceeded. Then, do you create the pipeline for success? Are you making sure that these businesses actually have that opportunity? And then, there has to be transparency. And I think one of the many benefits of the report that came from the comptroller is it creates transparency. What are we doing? What's happening? Okay, now we have to move forward in a more positive manner. We know they're successful businesses. We know they're successful entrepreneurs. They just need to be given a chance. And as governor's reports and goals and data have demonstrated, clearly there's success that's happening. Look at what's happening for Comptroller DiNapoli. You clearly can demonstrate when I give these minority women business opportunity, they're being successful. They're managing our funds, they're managing our opportunity. We're growing at a better rate than we were before. So now what we have to do, how do we open the pipeline? Public, private, not-for-profit sectors to say minority women-owned businesses are successful, they're capable, and they just needed a chance. And now it's our responsibility as those in the public sector to move that forward. My primary vision, my overarching goal is how do we increase those opportunities? Because when we do that, we will actually see better economic opportunities and better economic security in these urban communities that have been struggling, and quite frankly, also in rural communities who have these MWBs as well, who need them to thrive and survive.
We were talking about one of the byproducts of the epidemic of public corruption in Albany. Albany has been, infamous for its dysfunction. It's been called a cesspool. And when I was talking to one of your future colleagues last night, I don't want to call out your colleague, but your colleague was emphasizing that, when they actually get into the legislature, that it can be a deflating experience to see, kind of the realities of what the experience is like. Are you prepared for a little bit of your idealism to be, I don't know, drawn back or retrenched after seeing how things really work?
No, because I mean, first there's only 150 of us that get the honor to be in the assembly for the state. That the people of New York give us a chance, and we can't ever underestimate that. You know, it is a great honor to be given that opportunity, and for someone like me, you know, from the Bronx, this is home for me. To be able to give them the chance to represent the South Bronx in this manner, I can't ever forget that because they've given me an opportunity to say, okay, how do we move this forward? And we want you to be our voice. And so remember, I come from an environment when I was at the White House serving our president. You know, we had to deal with a very tumultuous Congress, specifically Tea Party, but you still find ways to get things done to provide tangible change. We've seen tangible steps that have happened here, but now we have to move forward because there are tangible things that have to occur in the future. The DREAM Act has to get done, the Women's Equality Act. When we get ready for rent laws, what are we doing for all these different very clear responsibilities that are upon us? And so for me, the idealism is always going to be there because I see that opportunity. You know, when you're starting from a place where people are hopeful of change and they just need to see that change happen, that creates a space for me to be energized and excited about where we can go. And so, you know, I'm not as doom and gloom as many folks were on Tuesday. I think Tuesday demonstrated for us when you give a very clear message, when you clear opportunities for people to be motivated, they will show up and show up for you. The reality is now, how do we say, okay, as we move forward into the next legislature, saying to the communities that have given us the chance, we are going to do something with this. We're not going to sit on our hands. We're actually going to be tangible and transformative in our votes. And that's what I'm excited about. And the reason that they gave me a chance is to demonstrate that this won't be as a traditional legislator. They want for me to be a transformative leader for them.
Well, Assemblyman-elect Michael Blake, congratulations on your victory. Wish you the best of luck in this upcoming session, and do our columnist and friend Michael Benjamin proud.
Thank you, man.